Hello, fellow peasants. Tonight I'll be reviewing Scream 4. Alright guys, so I watched Scream 4. This came out in 2011. This is the fourth film in the Scream franchise. It was the last film directed by the late, great Wes Craven. And what's it about? Well, it takes place after the events of Scream 3. It's about 11 years later. Sidney Prescott is doing a book tour. She's writing a book about how she's trying not to be a victim anymore and how she wants to move on with her life from the tragedies of the previous murders and the previous films. Dewey is now a sheriff. Gail is living in the small town of Woodsboro with him. She's bored. She doesn't have much to write about. She doesn't really have any journalistic opportunities right now. And so she's trying to get involved with the case when she's really not supposed to because she's not a journalist anymore. And Dewey is not a deputy. He's the sheriff. So he's like, Gail, you can't be involved in all this. And the killers this time are mimicking the first film. They want to do a remake. They're trying to remake the first film. And so Sidney Prescott once again finds herself wrapped up in murderous mayhem. And it's basically the same as the other films in the Scream franchise, the first three. But now it's 11 years later, and you got some new technology. You got smartphones now. The internet is in a new phase. And so people are doing streaming. They're doing live feeds, things like that. And so it's a step beyond what things were in the 90s, okay, in terms of technology. So let's get into what I like and what I don't like about Scream 4. What I like about Scream 4 is the fact that it does manage to stay entertaining the whole entire time. This is a film that grows on me the more I watch it. If you've watched the channel for any length of time, you'll know that I'm a big fan of the first three Scream films. And some people say, well, I can't believe you like Scream 3. Like, really? And I do like Scream 3. I think it's a fitting wrap-up to the franchise. I don't think you need anything past number 3. Some people say, true Scream purists would say, you don't need anything past Scream. And I can't argue with that, but I just feel like the first trilogy just had that late 90s, early 2000s nostalgic vibe. And I think I just really like number 3 because it's just nostalgic for me and I like it, to be honest. But I do like this film. I like it more and more every time I watch it. I find the pacing to be better. Things that I took issue with the first time I watched them are more forgivable now. And so, yeah, the pacing is great. The performances here are great. I love the opening of the film. I like how it opens up and you think okay, here's our new cast. Then it's just two girls watching a movie. And then you're like, okay, I guess this is our new cast. And then it ends up being two girls watching. So it's like a movie within a movie within a movie. So I really like the opening to this. That was really clever. Sidney Prescott in here is wiser now. So I like Sidney's performance in this. She is smarter. She knows what to do. She knows the tricks. I mean, this is the fourth rodeo that her, Gail, and Dewey have been through. So they make less mistakes as these films go on. What else do I like? The kills in this. Yes, most of the kills are stabs. Well, all the kills from the killers are stabs. But Jill dying at the end with the clear, that's not a kill. But in terms of just the Ghostface kills, they're all kills. But there's still gnarly kills, minus the one. When Jill's mom dies, that's kind of a weak-ass kill. He just, stabs her through the mail slot. I don't know. It's kind of a whack kill. But all the rest of the kills are pretty cool. This film has more gore than any of the other Screams prior to this. Especially the scene where you know, he busts out of the closet and he kills the girl across the street in the neighboring house, and there's like blood all over the walls and her intestines are hanging out. Like, the gore in this is like, they definitely upped the level. This also takes the film back to, although I do not like this film as much as the first film, but it really does feel more like the first one or two films than the third film did. The third film was more lighthearted, and that was done for various reasons. That was due to Columbine. People didn't want people showing teenagers being murdered and things like that, so that's why it was set with only adults in LA, no school setting. All of that impacted the script for Scream 3. And so now, 11 years later, Wes Craven's like, let's go back to, you know, the old style. Let's go back and get that original feel of the first two films. And they definitely nail that here. They definitely do. And it's even a little bit darker of a tone than the first two films. So I appreciate that as well. In terms of the motives for the killers, I don't like it. So let's get into what I don't like about the film. I don't like the motive here. I think it's kind of unbelievable Cindy Prescott has yet another psychopath in her life. Like, what's the odds that her cousin is a sociopath, psychopathic killer? I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's like, okay, how many people does this woman know that want to kill her? You know what I mean? How many people is this bitch pissed off? And her whole thing for it is like, I grew up with you being the special child, the special one, and I want to be special. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remake the first Scream. I'm going to kill all these people. I'm going to film it because it's the age of the internet and going viral. And yeah, I want to be famous for it. I'm going to put it online. I'm going to show people. People need to see things now. It's not enough to just read about it anymore. And so she's fame hungry. She's like, I don't need friends. I need fans. And so, and by the way, let's just go back real quick. And Emma Roberts also gives a great performance in this film. I didn't care for it at first. When I first saw this in theaters in 2011, I was kind of like, oh, you know, she kind of comes off as like a petulant child in a way, and it's kind of annoying. But after repeated watches, I'm like, oh, okay, Emma Roberts, I think that's maybe what they were going for. And it works, okay. But the motive does not work for me. It just seems very, very petty. But I'm willing to forgive that more than it's her cousin. It's her cousin. You know what I mean? I wish it would have been some random person in Woodsboro. I wish it would have been a random person in Woodsboro who was just jealous of her and wanted that fame. You know what I mean? But I'm sorry, guys. Like, the whole, like, her being her cousin, like, what's the odds another person in her circle, you know what I mean, wants to kill her, you know? So anyway, I don't care for the motive. This doesn't have so much to do with the writing and stuff like that for the film, but the color grading here. What is going on with the filter on this? And it looks like someone wiped Vaseline all over the lens and then put like a vignette in the corners. Just not a good film to look at, especially in the daytime scenes. The night scenes are nowhere near as bad, but the daytime scenes, like the sky's blown out, it's completely white. Lamps in the houses are blown out. Everything just looks oily and greasy, and just it just looks like a hot mess. I don't know whose decision this was. I don't know if this was intentional, if this was a fuck up. I don't know what this was. Some people say the filter is was done intentionally to mimic the look of mid-2000s remakes, because this is basically Scream 4 is supposed to be a spoof on all of the 2000 remakes, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010, The Hills Have Eyes remake, and the list can go on and on. Friday the 13th 2009. You know, there was a ton of horror remakes between 2003 and when this film came out. But to be honest, guys, I don't recall any of those remakes having this shitty Vaseline filter on them. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I wasn't paying enough attention, but I don't know where they're getting this. But anyway, and I do think the end scene goes on a tad bit long in the hospital. I do find it to be a little drawn out. But all in all, I really like this film more than I did when even prior to this watch. Really, I popped this in. I've only seen this film. I saw this film in theaters. I've watched it twice at home. This is like maybe my fourth watch, I think. Okay, altogether for this film. I've owned it for like forever on Blu-ray, but actually I really enjoyed it this time. I sat down and I was like, wow, okay, I like this. I understand why people will put this as their third favorite. Sometimes people even put this as their second favorite. And I don't get it being your second favorite. Scream 2 is creme de la creme. But I can see why people like this more than Scream 3. I'm just being honest. Scream 3 is mostly due to nostalgia, I think, for me, why I like it so much. I just feel like Scream belonged in that moment. Scream belonged in that time, and waiting 11 years in between. I remember when this came out and going to theaters and seeing this and going, God, like, they're coming back this late in the game. Like, it just felt like that moment had passed. You know what I mean? And then here we are now talking about Scream 7 and Stu Macher coming back and Roman coming back. And yeah, guys. So yeah, I liked it. I liked it more than I did on previous watches. But that's it, guys. That's my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about Scream 4. Have a good one, peasants. Peace out. Bye-bye.